Good morning. I'm higher vibrations, and so are you. Today, I decided that I would join you from a different location. It took a little bit longer than I had planned. I'm sorry about the lack of um, notice about this. There's a lot of stuff happening for many of us right now, in particular, due to a lot of these solar flares and incoming energies that we're getting. It's been really fascinating how um, just the rapid intake, like all the ticks of the solar flares and the Schumann resonance and the planets aligning. There's a lot of really cool alignments happening that are happening throughout this month, though as that's occurring, it's causing us to have a heightened ascension symptom experience, just more intense. And, along with that, I'm noticing for me, very slow moving. Everything that I'm doing is just, I feel like, I'm making it, but I'm like definitely the tortoise and not the hare at this time. And a lot of that has to do as well as with this dreamy experience. Like it feels real dreamy where we are, like where it's just not exactly I don't know, present in this the space that we are actually in, if that makes any sense at all. Hi, Amy. Hi, Carmen. Details, art and tattoo. Hello again. You again. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Um, so this dreamy experience I was trying to, yes, very detached. Vegan Vixen says, yes. The dreamy thing, Carmen, actually, yeah, he's right here right now. He mentioned it and I really resonated with that. I was like, yeah, that's a good word. He says, yes, dreamy. I'm having that this whole week. And I've been having it on and off for, I would say, 2 weeks. But it's hard to time. That's another point. Another thing that we're experiencing in this whole ascension experience is that this time slippage is what I'm calling it. It's not always losing time. It simply feels like the time is speeding up. And then at some points, it's just like really slow, and so in that, I can't really tell. I've become not very good at reporting when I felt something. However, it feels like it's been about 2 weeks. Um, Vegan Vixen mentioned horrible anxiety. That's on my list. These anxiety things that are coming in. Here's a solution that I found is these anxiety things, knowing that they are what they are not you. They're not connected to you. They're not part of you, as well as other types of sudden emotion. Not only anxiety, by the way, Vegan Vixen. There's also like these bursts of even rage, anger, frustration. A lot of these lower frequency, the kind of emotions or experiences that we're not really accustomed to having regularly, they're coming in and they're not us. Okay, they're almost another consciousness. And so the solution to this is that when it comes in, understanding that it's separate from me, it just in that act and that acknowledgement, it'll detach the experience. And as a separate experience from me, I send it the I love you energy. And what I mean by that is when we're in this place where right before you're about to say I love you to someone or something that you just love. Like think about somebody that you really truly and deeply care about. And that love experience. I have to turn off my phone. I forgot to turn off my ringer. I'm sorry. Um, that love experience as it wells up inside of you. And then just that moment before you would say, I love you to that person or thing, that's the same thing that you're doing to what's in front of you. That's stopping uh, the interaction as well as elevating the thing. So you're serving what's coming through you and also helping yourself. So that's something you can consider. Um, it's it's really fun to realize a lot of these things, I think perhaps may have been for some time now, these sudden, unpleasant emotional experiences. It feels like they weren't really part of us to begin with, that they're these things moving through us. We are conduits. That's what we're doing. That's our job, is we're allowing the light to come down through us and embody more light in this planet and those in this planet, as well as the two-way road of releasing the energies that have been kind of imprisoned and captured in place in this space that just doesn't vibrate, and there's no harmony for this energy. So it wants to go too. So thank you for bringing that up. Hyperventilation and shaking, Mariette. I hope I said it right. I'm sorry. I remember asking you before if I said it right. I can't remember. Um, Hyperventilation and shaking. I haven't had the hyperventilation. Is anyone else? I have noticed the shaking and vibrating. There are two different experiences, and you know it when you're in it. The vibration is separate, and that's more of like energy moving through us. That tends to be experienced not primarily, but in the majority of the time is through the torso, the form, like within the shoulders and down to like the hips area. Um, However, I've also had experiences where the vibration of my cheeks and the vibration of my hair, I don't know, it's a scalper. So that is happening, and that's a separate thing. The shaking is this density moving through us. So another way to say it is that when you get like a screen, like that mesh covering that goes on a window, and you hold a hose against it, you're still going to get water moving through it. There's just barriers or blocking things, the screen that's going to kind of make a little bit of a mess, and it shakes it. So that's basically what's happening with us. Like that was an Archangel Michael channeling that I got a year ago. It's still in my channel somewhere in the channelings folder, but he had said that it's the great shaking out, and that when we're noticing these twitching and these shakings, as well as like spasms, muscle spasms, and things like that, a lot of them, what it is the light's moving through, and it's kind of shaking out any of the things that the densities that we need to have released. And that neck moves on to the next thing too. I don't know about the hyperventilation though. I really try meditation, that just, and not even really having to do it in your mind, just watch your breathing in meditation. Perhaps it's you're being drawn to your breath right now. Apono ono, I cannot recall. The Wim Hof method of breathing. Carmen, who's on the chat right now, has a lot of really awesome resources to that. I'll add, Carmen, if you wouldn't mind, when this is over, send me a link or post it in the comments when you can. The after fact of the live, you can post in the comments and not just the live chat. I think that would help. So just considering that, and I don't remember where I was going to next on the thing. So let's just move on to the details and art and tattoo anxiety. But we just had a X flare, which is intense on the body right now. Yeah, it's super. The amount of solar flares that we're getting, having the sun weep into our experience. Weeping isn't actually associated in this case with sadness at all, by the way. It's like a joyful weeping, and that's helping activate. What's really occurring, everybody? I mean, I'm sure a lot of you know this, though. So like 90 to 95% of your DNA, of all of our DNA, has always been told, or has been told for quite some time by science, that it's junk DNA. It's garbage. It's just a bunch of random stuff. I don't know why they put it there. You're a platypus, basically, right? And what's actually the case is that we have all this DNA that's been in dormancy. And so as now it's being activated and coming out of hibernation, we're noticing a variety of symptoms as a result. Our bodies are purging. That was what I was going to say next, was the purging that's happening for a lot of us right now. And purging is a lot of different things, like acne is an example of it, this weird sweat, this bathroom trips. I'm having this really weird thing with this bathroom thing right now. I'm releasing a lot of water, and it's not, like inability, something with bladder issues. It's just, there's just a lot of water moving through us, and we've been going through this ebb and flow thing where a lot of us will get like this Buddha belly, this air filled space. And that releases also through different kinds of gas, burping and lower burping. And so there's all of that kind of release as well. And then the rashes, I think, are associated strongly with that. People are getting like patchy rashes and stuff. That's another part of this purge, this release. And on top of that, there's the emotional release that we're all doing. And that I would say a more powerful release than all things of that in that category is that need to cry or laugh. and it doesn't have to be tears of sadness or something like that. That tends to be the originating point, and then it becomes something more healing and beautiful and clearing. When we have that, also we can be, crying in joy and in love. I'm doing that a lot. I've become one of those people that they make those Hallmark commercials about. So it's just this lot of releasing in that way. Mother Nature 61. I have been working with my guides in New Blessed Gaia in my dreams. Oh, it's so beautiful. Yes, wonderful. She said, not beautiful, and it is beautiful as well. I'm so happy for you. This is such a beautiful space to get to be brought to. As the when we're brought there, at first it seems like we're coming as a guest, but then we realize we're actually returning to a place we spent quite a bit of time. I'm really happy that you're doing that. When we're in Dreamtime, we're very rarely doing what science has taught me anyway. That it's these synapses firing in our brain to work out issues in our daily day-to-day life. And in my experience, we're actually working. We're in astral. We're and the astral that's happening now too. It's so cool. It used to be every time I would go into astral, I'd go as my higher self. Like I'd go as a more evolved and understand, like absorbing information, already having all the information kind of being. And after the past few months, probably, I've been going as Pamela, me, and like it's been really funny because I feel very much like the grandma who's lost her memory and everyone's trying to get her to remember stuff. That's happening for a lot of people. We're working, and that's why we are having such profound exhaustion, which is another thing that we're all going through right now. Really, really tired. We wake up and need a nap, and like that's because we're working. And often we're doing these types of things too. We're having a beautiful time. It's great. It's just we're tired. Vegan Vixen says, love to you all from Wales, UK. Oh, cool. You're in Wales. Interesting. There's a lot of energy moving through Wales right now. You can follow the flow of Gaia's light, of the energy moving through her. It's like underground rivers and highways of energy that just flows. And it's fun. When we do that, we go into meditation and we remember that we're drawing in the light from God. And it doesn't matter what chakra you're breathing it in through your nose into your chakra. And then also collecting the light from Gaia by sending that light through us, touching Gaia's heart, and she like returns it back, and it turns into this like crossing in your heart center. It turns into like this figure 8. When that's occurring, then if you choose, you can follow the flow of that light. And the light is swelling up in 4 different places, really big right now. And one of those places is Wales. So for you in Wales, also Amsterdam's having this really interesting swelling up. Sweden is having this big swelling up. The other one is in the ocean. And that's just going to be interesting for the West Coasters. There's a lot going on right there. So anyway, welcome from Wales. There's going to be a lot more people waking up in the next couple of weeks, even days, in that area. Vegan Vixen also says, anyone finding it difficult to go out of your comfort zone? Yeah, a lot of us are called to go in and go within, at different phases that occur, and we're in that cycle right now. We're in that 2-year cycle. There's a 2-year cycle of awakening, and when like someone will ask you, when was your awakening, and you think back to each of those every 2 years are like that. There's an activation time. Many of us find this particular 2-year cycle to be very impactful, and so finding that we're in this cycle, this is a time where we are in what they're calling a reprieve, so the energy goes up and spikes, and then there's a lull. And this is a time of respite is actually the word that they use. I say reprieve, respite. I got corrected. And so in that respite period, then we don't want to go out so much. We find that we want to rest more. This is when we start to go into more fasting kind of stuff without really planning, which I'm going to be excited for, being honest with you. My body right now is all about the like heavy carbs, like breads and stuff. And I'm not this person. So I'm very not much looking forward to not gaining any more weight. This is one of the things that happens though, the fluctuation in weight. It's pretty weird in this awakening, to be honest. Let me catch up where I left off. In the sky, my symptoms are more of a heavy, weird burning in my lungs and SP. Um, Light fogginess, knowings, strange feeling of extreme uncertainty. Also, like a demon is about to be exposed and purged from my being. That you've got all of it. That yeah, um, you're. It sounds to me like you're definitely on at a precipice in the sky. I've been there before too, and yeah, there's what's occurring. What's most of us are finding, and it's been really fun doing these one-on-ones and having these conversations with people. A lot of individuals coming up in their vibration then acknowledge and realize that they have what they at first detect as some kind of attachment or hitchhiker kind of energy. And then once healing that and releasing that energy, usually it feels like it's connected on the back, somewhere on the back or even the back of the neck. Um, and then in that, so all you have to do if you feel the need, if you feel the desire to remove that energy, is to remove your consent to have a conversation with it. It's best, I find, to do in a meditative state because you're more in your heart zone, heart space, and releasing that, saying thank you for your service and for how much they have honestly been of assistance up to this point, and it's time for it to go. And it's not that it's darker energy either, though I understand what you mean. That feels very much like it. It is um, something that you once vibrated with, and it wasn't a wrong choice at that time. However, now it's no longer in harmony with your energy, and so it's time for it to go. And when we release this and say goodbye, and there's usually like you feel like all of a sudden like a surge of rage or something that feels uncomfortable like that. That's its desire to be where it's used to being. You're asking it to leave its home, and it will go. You just can you removing consent for its partnership in your experience. It has to. When it does go, most of the individuals find that it's actually yourself from a different timeline that needs to be closed. When it's released, it closes that timeline, and you get that the transmuted, the upgraded, the higher frequency energy of that self back in self. It's really interesting experience. A lot of people are going through that. Sorry for that long explanation. It seems to be a really common thing right now. The fogginess, the sudden knowings, the realizations, finding yourself walking through a lot of different lifetimes and flashes of those things. All of that stuff is happening for a lot of people. You're in the right place in the sky. Um, Loving a heart is also expanding. Yes, heart chakra activation across the board for a lot of people. It's so fun and beautiful to witness. Um, Mother Nature 61. I know when the energies are intense, when I have crazy heart palpitations. Yeah, I find that heart palpitations are, in my case, I didn't know it at first, are always associated now with some type of healing. It's upgrades are healing basically too. So like they work together. So it's upgrades that are for healing, and then there's regular old healing and helping us move density out that we had collected along the way. So yeah, that's really cool. It can be alarming, and if there's any reason that you feel the need to get a hold of your doctor, do it, dude. Like who knows? That may be the most reassuring thing that you need this week, for you to not have to worry and devote fear to this experience. And for me, I find a lot of validation and assistance in my month or my yearly checkups, and just find out, yeah, all my blood work says this, and I'm great and the best health and all that stuff is very reassuring, and so do you. Brandy says, anxiety was so intense the last couple of weeks. My breathing was challenging, as if I couldn't get enough air in my lungs. Wow. I was belching and yawning constantly. So Brandy has the same experience as, I think it was Vegan Vixen. I can't remember. I'm sorry. No, it was Mariette. Um, there's the same kind of experience of that breath thing. I noticed a restriction, this feeling of a restriction that kind of manifested as a cold, and so um, you never know what the cold is in these these days. Thank you for that. And taking in more breath, the belching, and also the flatulence is that moving out. What's really cool, so you remove a density that's this size, right? And when you move, and the density wasn't dense when it was in earlier experiences when your vibration was a different place, and so as we remove this density, then all of a sudden there's this much space. It's doubled in size, and in that space we have an influx of air and often water. And so then we're like really like, you know, like just what's the word? Just puffy, and there's a word that I know that goes with that. That's something else that I've been going in cycles with is my access to vocabulary. I've historically been amazing with my vocabulary has always been very good. It's just that these days I'll go through periods of like, what's the word for spoon? Something that's really easy to recall. It's frustrating. Bloated is the word. And that bloating, um, after it fills up and it has that bloating sensation, we have like the Buddha belly thing that goes on. When you bring in the light, when you fill that void with light, it retracts down even smaller than the density that was removed. And so that's the end of that story. So how you do that is, again, bringing the light in from God and directing it as it moves through your body to the area of your body that there's discomfort. That's putting that light of love and healing, and it changes the vibration of the space. The little, like, they look like diamond shaped flat crystals that look very much like mirrors are all throughout your body. And so I've only started seeing this the past little while in people as they're talking to me and stuff. And there are these little teeny microscopic crystals all in through your body. And right, originally, or I don't know, the way we've been up to now is all of these have lined up kind of like shingles, or something like that, kind of like a dragon scales, I guess. And what's occurring is that was causing all of this stuff to bounce off of us, right? We are turning these mirrors inward to each other and just kind of honing our own light as we bring it in. And as we bring in that light and change the direction, it's letting more light come into your physical form. And as that happens every time when you do that with intention, especially, then there's a vibration change that is notable, like an incredible difference in everything around you, seeing things that you didn't see before, colors, understanding more, feeling more at peace, able to reach that place of peace and love. And like, people being in conflict over there are something that you don't run from, but there's no need to engage, as well as not taking in any of the energy of it. It's really cool. So for any of you that have time to just sit for a minute and do this meditation, visualize that. That's going to help you out. I went on a tangent again. I apologize. I'm way behind on your Vegan Vixen says, wait, yeah, Vegan Vixen. Yes, up several times in the night. Yeah, I'm up a lot too. It's so predictable about every 2 hours now. Whether or not I truly will recall it, I will think of it later on in the day. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that time too. Like almost like a zombie, almost walking in my sleep kind of thing. Mother Nature 61, been noticing a lot of foods I can no longer tolerate. That is a big one. So much that people in my country, at least, are the country I'm in. I don't really, but anyway, those doctors all over are now talking about it, saying how so many people are getting these all of a sudden onset food allergies. There's now a common allergy that they declare. It's called a meat allergy. I had the same thing happen to me. Full on carnivore, proud of it at the time, was really big into it. A lot of times I would just be eating meat. It's like, what are you having for dinner? Chicken, steak, whatever, and like maybe there'd be sides, kind of a person to slowly removing certain meats from my diet. And then especially any kind of ground meat at first, there was just a lot that wasn't in harmony with my body. My body started to like release it. I'd get sick, and things like that. And all the way into now, I just don't eat any meat at all. we're basically vegans actually. And that happened over a very gradual, several year period kind of thing. And then a lot of people who have been vegans or at least vegetarians for quite some time are suddenly being like, they have this drive or this desire to eat meat. And that's really hard for people who become vegan or vegetarian for ethical reasons. Though, the number one thing I always say is follow your body. Your body's telling you what it needs, and sometimes it's stuff that you don't think you should need. In this guy says grounding and purging, not keeping up with the amount of energy coming into the body. Yeah. I find it the most grounding right now to be interacting with water. Like water is very, very grounding, and taking a bath, foot soaks, engaging with water, like doing the dishes regularly, more regularly than normal. One of the things I started to do, because it's kind of fun to bend the water when you let the stream of water come out of the faucet and put your hand against it and kind of push it, so then it starts coming down like that. And just interacting with the water, that's been the most long lasting and impactful solution for that for me. So just to keep that in mind. Another thing too is that when we're getting these solar flares, everybody's body walking around looks like a big poof ball of energy, just static, and it's just what happens when we're getting this stuff, and it needs to be released and ionized. The ionization process happens naturally when you walk barefoot on the earth, on grass, on soil, and sand, any of those types of elements. And if you can't, bringing some dirt into the house is very helpful for that. However, one of the things that I have found, if I know that a big solar flare is coming, I'll fill up the bathtub like a third of the way or half of the way full, and then add salt to it. Doesn't even matter what kind of salt. It could be like, the unhealthy kind. It can be all the, and then just put that in the water and let it just be there while this is happening. And having that close to your body, like within the same house and stuff, does ionize it for you. Another, very quick way to do it is to do a foot soak with salt, Epsom salt or table salt or whatever. I like to use pink Himalayan salt. It's just that love resonance and stuff. So I don't know I hope that helps you, just keeping that in mind. Karen, hey, I'm in Washington too, but you're in Vancouver. You're 77, and these Ascension symptoms are really hard to deal with, but I'm hanging in there. Yeah, thank you, Karen, for hanging in there and holding the light. There's a lot of energy moving through, and the Pacific Coast right now is getting a big influx. And that's one of the areas I mentioned earlier. There's several, and that's one of the areas, excuse me. So keep that in mind that as this is coming in, it's here to help you, and so if you can do any of the things that we brought up, like interacting with water in particular, really helpful. Anybody that has this is coming online right now and having these experiences right now, it's got to be really difficult. Like I had the luxury of slowly understanding all these things over a gradual period of time, and a lot of individuals right now, because this is the grand awakening that we're in, are all coming in together. And there's so many people blinking blindly at the glow of the sun, not fully able to take in all the light as it comes in, feels like they're alone. And, there's a lot of you out there, just so you know. It's like a big awakening happening right now. And with that provides you the luxury of places to reach out. I host a weekly Zoom meeting for people who feel the need to connect, and to find out how not alone you really are, how united we are. That it's free. It's every week on Friday. We start at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. What is that? 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we go for 3 hours. So if you feel the need to come late or leave early, that's why we do it that long, just to kind of give everybody a chance to try to find a window of time that they can come in. I also offer one-on-ones if anyone wants my private audience and, having conversations. I do healing. I channel in all kinds of stuff. There's usually some type of meditation at the end of those one-on-ones. So just so anyone's interested, my email is in the description below if you're interested in that. There's more than just our communities. There's a lot of people connecting. There's people on Patreon. There's people that are doing other free Zoom meetings. And so connecting allows that throat chakra to open. Even if you're not the one speaking, you're just listening and resonating with what's being said, it's helping to open that throat chakra that most of us have very closed, very, very closed because of a variety of things, but most often it's because we've had so many lifetimes, including this one. Hey, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, including this lifetime where there was some type of unpleasant consequence to speaking your truth, to talking about what's going on, burned at the stake kind of storylines. And so we have a lot blocked there. And as we allow ourselves to listen to things, be activated in our memory and in our heart centers, then that breaks open. And then we're able to start to use our throat chakra, and we're more in balance. So that's why those services are available. So I hope that if anyone's interested, that they join. Details, art, and tattoo hanging there in the sky. I'm sorry. I'm sure you wrote that when it was, I just don't understand it now. But there is definitely some, I'm seeing things in the sky a little bit, like rainbow rivers is pretty cool. And also there's a lot more UFOs out there. They're called something else now, and I really don't care. They're UFOs. Mariette says, napping gives me a very nasty feeling afterwards, waking up with fast heart beating, disoriented. So I find, and I've found for quite some time, that in a time of napping versus sleep at night is when I do the most intense astral type experiences. Like, that's just how it works. And in that, when we go in astral initially in the first little while, what we're really doing is we're doing healing, alignment of self, those types of things. So that would actually explain a lot, the heart beating and the disorientation. A lot of times we are made to wake up quickly to kind of pull the resonance of what it feels like to be that confident and that powerful, knowing what your power really is, trying to give you hints and jogging of your memory to kind of like let you get that experience. So they're meant to be good things. In my experience, it's meant to be a very good thing, though it does, when it's strange and unexplainable, it makes it kind of not. So maybe that would help. Vegan Vixen says, weird tingling, burning on soles of feet. Yeah, soles of feet and palms of hands. There's a lot of activation. So that is a series of chakras. I always thought that there was one, and then I thought that there was 3. There's 7 chakras in that. Well, there are a lot more, it turns out, on the soles of our feet and the palms of our hands. That's not including fingers and toes. That's just and so right now there are 7 of them that are coming online. It's causing this heat that you can feel from a pretty good distance. It's also causing this, if you play with it like this, you can actually start to feel yourself building the energy, and you can build this energy. I've seen children do where they create a ball of love and actually throw it at people. I do it too. And it's really cool. And that's what you're doing, is you're building love, that energy that you feel. With the intention of it, it makes it even more powerful and impactful. So, Natalia says, today when I was sleeping, my sheets moved and I flew in my room. I swear it's real. I'm sure. I believe you. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. One of the really interesting things to look at and wonder what it's going to be like for everybody is what's happening right now is, so in April 2021, yeah, it might have been 22. I can't remember which April it was anymore. And the Earth, Gaia, finally settled into what we're calling the 5D, the fifth dimensional frequency space. That's what we're calling it. And when that happened, those of us who are all here, by the way, it's the most strange thing to wake up on a train, right? And realize that you've been on a train for a while. And that's basically what's occurred for many, many people. And this train is ascension and moving into this energetically, a train moving into this higher frequency of the planet that we're already standing on, that we're already in. And it's a slow waking up, moving away from the fogginess and the lack of memory and the daziness, like waking up from a real deep sleep, a profound dream, and you're slowly pulling yourself away from that dream. That's what we're doing with the reality around us. The reality that we're seeing isn't actually the reality that is there. It sounds really crazy, I know. Um, and as we start to slowly understand that how powerful we are, how much we can manifest, and that we do manifest the world that's before us, the more that we choose to change that. And the more that you and I and everyone chooses to not agree to a certain type of world around us, then it starts to change. And when that starts to change, sometimes it can be kind of alarming. And a lot of times there'll be like this back and forth, like it'll be like this, because there's a change that causes alarm, and alarm pulls you back and takes away your choice. We're not your choice, but it takes away your agreement at that time. This whole process occurs. And then at the same time, we're going into a place of fear. And that's okay. Everybody dips into fear. There's nothing wrong with that. It's simply that one side is love and one side is fear. And the resonance of love is God, is that white light, that love, that most perfect love. And the other side is fear. And where you're going to, this love space, the closer to the love resonance that you are in your heart center of love, the more that you can perceive around you and the more balance there is. And the farther away from that you go, the easier it is to drop your vibration and not at that moment perceive what's in front of you. And so that will cause this back and forth thing. So when we're startled by this new reality, and we a lot of times will go into this place of, am I crazy? Or kind of self-judgment stuff. The guilt and shame and stuff is also within the fear bracket. All things come from either love or fear. That's the root of each and every experience, emotionally speaking. So anyway, knowing that that's going to happen, the reality around you is shifting, and slowly we are all moving toward a higher frequency agreement. So that was a long explanation and very long-winded today. I apologize. Um, Jackie, good to see you. Hello. Vegan Vixen, you talk so much sense. I love your talks. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very happy that you resonate and that I'm helping in some way. I'm not feeling like there was others around like us can be really hard, and it was hard on me. So that's why we're doing this. Mariette says, very vulnerable this time, as if living without my skin. Yeah, it does feel a lot like that. It's very foreign. And moving away from this weird, there was a reason or a cause to need privacy before. Privacy was and there's very many different ways that privacy is touched. We're not talking about all of them, though. As we get to a place where you don't have to protect yourself from any kind of unbalanced energies or someone that's trying to take something from you or whatever, as we slowly move away from that paradigm, we start to pull away from some of our needs for privacy in some of these ways. Like me sitting here and telling my whole story, like that, I would never have thought to do that years ago. So it's just something that we're all moving toward and away from this other density. And the skin thing, by the way, too, there's this sense that's happening for a lot of people. It feels like kind of pinprickly, like pins and needles. Like when your foot falls asleep and it's coming back awake again. That's happening with a lot of people right now on their skin. So I know you didn't say that, but that's another experience people have been having. Vegan Vixen, I've been vegan for over 45 years. Well, congratulations. That's awesome. And if you find randomly a need, your body craves something, it's because it's craving and needs it, and I have been basically a vegan for quite a while, though every once in a while I'll get a wild hair kind of feeling, and like I get this craving for something, it's not typically in my diet. Usually my body releases it right away, and maybe that's my body wanting to do a clearing. I don't know. Lorraine, hello. She says, hi, me, and hi, everyone. Just got on. Has anyone mentioned feeling intense irritability? Yes, and frustration. Rage was another one. anxiety. She says, my emotions are very intense. Some days are better, but lately struggling. So yes, a lot of these things, and I did describe it very early in this video, so I won't go into it in as much detail. I want a bit on a tangent. I've been doing that today. However, having that, just knowing that what these aren't us. They're separate from us, and acknowledging them as a separate, almost a separate consciousness as they move through, sending love to them. It will help them to go. Though it's also not saying, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to, don't touch me kind of a thing. Letting it move through, if that makes any sense. Like, you're not grabbing onto it and trying to figure it out. You're not experiencing it as if it's yours. It's moving through. So to acknowledge it, that this is what's happening. Sometimes an outburst is a very useful thing, whether you're raising your voice or you're stomping, or crying. There's a lot of ways that this is being released. For me, I notice that when it comes in, all of a sudden I feel the need to pull in all of this light, turn it myself into a big white bubble all around me, this light being filled, and I just kind of push it out, and it looks like an echo, a ripple that goes out and out and out. When I do that, I'm doing that to clean this space and the energy of the field that I'm in. As a mother, I want to protect my child from these experiences. However, when I do that, there's always tears. There's always and it's like gratitude of release. And so that's part of that, feeling it. So that's how I do it. That doesn't mean that's everyone needs to find their own path. So just so you know, though, that when that's coming through, that's a useful method to walk through it. Mariette says, getting so exhausted, bad night's sleep, feeling vulnerable and not very well grounded with all of this lightheadedness. We really do survive this heavy impact? Yes. Yes, we do. We're getting upgraded. We're getting so many upgrades right now that I actually have been thinking a lot lately about what it's going to be like to look back at this moment, and in history, because history is not history when you leave this place, all this linear stuff. Just knowing that what we're doing right now is a success. It's already worked. Everything happens at a higher and higher frequency, faster, and it just slows down more and more as you go into a lower density frequency space. Where we haven't seen the success yet, but that's why we're also feeling this celebration energy, because everybody else, like all these spaceships and all of these energies, we've impacted them, we've improved them, we have succeeded in our ascension according to them, and the way that they're able to perceive our experience, and by succeeding have impacted them in a very long lasting and positive way. And not just those near to us, like across the entire cosmos. It looks like percussion waves that I've got to see it. It looks really cool. It looks like percussion waves that just move out through the whole universe and changing what's behind it. Kind of like that Meet the Robinsons movie in the end, when everything moves from a darker experience into like a bubble and happy, kind of like that. It's really cool. Let's see. So Jackie, love your one-on-ones. Yeah, it's so fun to do one-on-ones with you. I just skipped all the way to the end. So I guess I'll go from the bottom to the top. Fasting and meditating, Carmen says. Yes, that really, really helps. It's something that really helps align and balance and bring in your bring into your center. The center of you is the true you, that space. And when you can go into that center, into that frequency of balance, then everything else is just easy. We still notice these symptoms. Like, I'm here to report them because that's what I asked if I could. I made the agreement of this mission, though it doesn't impact me as profoundly as a lot of individuals, and some it impacts me more than some. Everybody's different. And experiencing that, and in that space, that is the place that place of that where I've been able to get to that it's not as profound for me. The hip thing was really a big deal. A lot of us had this energy around our hips, and it was causing it to feel almost like it was popped out of its socket. I wasn't the only one that experienced that. A lot of people had that. Corey says, do you have a PayPal? I do. Thank you for asking. I have it in the description of this video and of any of the videos that I do. I think I've put my PayPal. If it's not in all of the descriptions, it's in my about thing of my YouTube channel. Speaking of my YouTube channel, yesterday was my 2-year anniversary. So that was kind of fun to realize, there's the 2 again. We're in this 2 cycle. 2 years ago, I finally said, okay, Archangel Michael, I'll freaking do this thing that why would you want me to be the one on the camera? I'm just me, you know what I mean? But it's turned into this amazing thing. So it's kind of fun that we've been doing this for 2 years. Edward says, I'm still laughing spontaneously. Awesome. Yeah, that's part of it. That is letting that come out, letting that be released and move through in whatever way it is useful and meant to at the moment. One of the things that we've been doing, and I found out about it years and years and years ago, and I've been doing it on and off throughout my life. I'm not going to, I've been more invested this time though. It's called laughing yoga, and you get a group of people together. At first, most people that when you try to get them to do it, they just think that it's the most bizarre thing. But everybody, the end goal is everyone's going to be laughing. And you bring somebody in like me that can just cry or just cry. I can. If I need to cry, I used to not be able to. That's not what I meant to say though. Can just start laughing because I find myself, I'm in this heart center space of such joy these days that laughing is easy for me. And I just love that. And anyway, someone starts laughing. And then after a while, even people who are resisting can't help themselves but to start laughing as well. And so everybody starts laughing and it's a big thing. And you could be laughing as a group for an hour. There's science behind it, better everything, respiration, heart, cholesterol, sleeplessness and stuff like that. A lot of that is solved by these people joining these laughing yoga sessions. And so that's something that's really helpful. Mandolin, hello. Just came in from the yard because I smashed my finger. Lots of finger injuries lately. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It looks also like Nova cut her finger right before bed last night evening while opening an avocado. There is finger stuff going on. That's funny that you say that. Not as profoundly as you guys. I have all of a sudden, I never have this problem. My fingers are I have so many of the hangnails all around it that just my fingers all feel sensitive. Also, though, too, I noticed the tips of my fingers becoming more sensitive like a couple of days ago. And it almost felt like I had just a mild burn, very, very mild burn, but I didn't. Interesting. I wonder maybe that's because we talked about the chakras of the palm and that we haven't really addressed the chakras of the fingers. I watched the ring finger come online recently. Interesting. I can't wait to find out what that's about. Let's see. Lorraine says, yes, thank you. I do acknowledge it, but it takes me a bit to realize, okay, if flow, it makes me feel horrible. Thank you for your help and reminder. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't. And the thing is one of the things I used to do is I would then I'd get hard on myself if I didn't do something really well, like I had a high expectation of myself. And when I'm not able to achieve the goal that I had at that time, I can be really hard on myself and it bring my vibration down. So I bring this up to say, to allow yourself the back and forth. And I don't let myself have permission to blame myself or to take responsibility for the first 3 to 7 seconds of whatever's coming in. That's just autopilot. That's ego. Ego is the operating program in the back, right? That is committed to survival. And so when that occurs, that's not me. However, what am I going to do about it next? You know what I mean? And it can take even longer than that. That's just my window of time. Everybody's different. To allow yourself to not be perfect because you're perfect in your imperfection. You're exactly who you're supposed to be. Like all of this thing about having to change and be a better person and stuff. You are a better person. You're already you. exactly how you're supposed to be. And when you allow yourself to be in that space of your truth, of your sovereignty, of your power, then all of the things that maybe you don't like about your experience or you feel like you could do better at become natural and easy for you to do. It's trying to not be who you really are that causes the conflict. It's, the greatest falsehood is this lack of security. We all live in a very secure, safe place. And we slowly bring in this feeling, this need of like constant need to survive when it's done naturally and easily, and I'm with you though. Like I'm still in that logic part with that. That's what I keep getting lately. And so for me to release, that's going to be a thing that we're going to be working on. I'm sorry I missed so much of your comments. Yeah, and Mandolin, I really hope that your finger feels better. I just really, I wonder what finger that it is that happened on, actually. I'll send you some love, hun. Jackie, oh nice, 2 years, congratulations. So grateful for you and our group. Oh, thank you. Stacy says congrats as well. Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of fun to have those little moments of, oh yeah, this is how long something's been occurring. Vegan Vixen says, really cold hands and feet most of the time. Yeah, I cycle. Honestly, I cycle. Like, and it's opposite. Like right now, my feet are really cold and my hands are hot, and I've got socks on too. However, then that will switch, and then my hands are really cold and my feet are really hot. And I noticed that when I am upgrading, then they're hot, and also when someone needs healing, so that's also a thing that happens. And then when I am like sitting in the light, because the light is light is cooler, like the frequency of light as it comes in, it's colder than we are familiar with in our regular temperature stuff, and that will also cause that interaction and experience. Patches of areas of body just becoming cold is another part of that. We'll notice the light coming in at certain points, and that part of our body will just be strangely cold or hot if we're getting healing in that spot. So that's something that's really interesting. Let's see. So Mother Nature 61, I have painful fingertips too. Been wondering about that. That's very interesting. And I'm sure it's not coincidence we brought up the fact that there are chakras that haven't been really activated in the fingertips and the toe tips. So that's going to be interesting. Thank you, Corey. Hooray. Yeah, it's really cool. Jay says, a pigeon came to my house and started following me around. It had a green tag around its right foot. Interesting, like a homing pigeon. That's kind of cool. I read into the animals a lot. I actually don't know what pigeon's a messenger. Like I think that hawk is messenger in the spiritual Native American teachings that I've kind of been brought up with, though they also serve that purpose. So perhaps there's something about being a messenger or getting a message. Often the animals are talking to us in a very real way. If you're interested, by the way, you could go to any kind of internet search engine site and type in the animal totem. So like pigeon totem or spirit animal is another way you can word it, and you'll get all kinds of information on that. PP says, anyone have irregular periods? And I have been irregular in my irregularity, if that makes any sense. It's been really strange. I don't know how in detail I want to go in that, but for the most part, I'm having them more often, and they're stronger, and it's become very strange how regular I've become in that same way, if that makes any sense. Vegan Vixen, I was just messaging specifically to somebody. Yeah, exactly. Vegan Vixen says, for those of us who have had several teeth removed, will we grow them back? Okay, so that's actually a question I asked into a while ago. Not on purpose, but I suddenly had this vision. This was the winter of 2020 going into 21. No, 2020 going into 2022. Or wait, 2021. Excuse me. Anyway, I started seeing people getting their teeth back, and I started to, like, they were growing in. They were actually growing in. Teeth that had been removed. Like new teeth were growing, and they were happening quick. It was happening relatively quickly. And what I asked about that was, what about the people wearing dentures, or implants? That it's supposed to happen slowly. I'm still waiting for that because the same thing happened to me. My teeth started to separate. I never had gaps between my teeth. And then this happened during a time when a lot of people were having the same thing. And these gaps being created caused damage to the teeth behind it. And so I'm actually missing a few teeth now too, which is very unpleasant. I don't like that. I have to get going in a second. I was going to answer one more question. I see Karen wrote, let's say, hi, Edward. Has anyone felt energies like water droplets? Yeah, water's fully online now. And I guess what the better way of saying that is we met the frequency of the water consciousness. You can actually interact with that water. You can have conversation with that water, energetically speaking. Sending love to water, to sending appreciation, carrying things to the water, changes the water frequency in itself, and it echoes through and changes all of the water around it, like a domino effect. And so a lot of us are being called to interact with the water in this way. Essentially, what we're doing is we're making holy water when we interact with water, which makes sense why so many of us are finding more grounding in water right now, because that's where our energy is most needed. So that's really cool you're having that experience. Water will give you a melody too after a little while, interacting with it and connecting with it in that way. Karen says, my usual loving cat gets very aggressive, biting and clawing at me during these spiking. Yep, these energy spikes. Yeah, animals, a lot of animals. I actually we had a conversation about that, I think, on one of our Zoom chats recently, about animals and having ascension symptoms and suddenly having them acting out, having difficulties. And a lot of individuals, what they're doing is they're actually using a crystal and just I don't have a good example of a crystal close enough by to. I'll use this one, and just kind of tracing down through the chakras of the body of the cat or the dog, helping them. It does really assist them. When we have a pet, what happens on a soul level? This is really fun. I got to see this. What happens is when we take a pet into our life, an animal that's a wild animal or a domesticated animal. This is still a wild animal. By taking them into our experience, by giving them identity, a name, by interacting with them in the way that we do, we're actually giving their soul the chance to come to a higher density experience in their next incarnation than they had in this one. So we're talking about all animals, all frequency of animal. And so while we're having these interactions, they're already evolved and ascending and having their own ascension symptoms in that way. And now, as they're connected to us in this very real way, when these spikes occur, they're feeling them even more profoundly than perhaps the animal that hasn't been given identity. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Anyway, I do need to go. I love you all so much. I'll read one more thing. We have, anyone still having continuous head ringing? Yes, that is like the primary ascension symptom for most people as they come in. Ear ringing, dizziness, lightheadedness, all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff happening right now. And the ear ringing, I don't think that it's going to stop exactly. I think that it just becomes more melodic and more beautiful. And we start to have multiple frequencies at the same time, allowing us to kind of full on get the angelic tone that it's meant to be. That's my experience. I love you all. I will join you again next Sunday at the same time. Or if this might be Monday in your place that you're at. I love you all so much, and just hang in there. Don't give up. It's not over, but we're gonna give it's also a temporary thing that we're going through right now. Okay. I love you all. Goodbye.